everybody. I am Drew Duncan, host of the Full Court Press. Don't forget, you can always find me on social media. That is at Drew Duncan83. That is across the board on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget to use the hashtag, don't you dare touch that dial. I want to get into this Denver Broncos trade with Joe Flacco. 4th round draft pick. Look, I want to be clear about a couple of things. Number one, and I'm probably going to lose an audience here, but that's fine. I am a big fan of Joe Flacco. I don't think he's ever gotten the respect that he deserves. I think he's a damn good quarterback, and the proof is in the pudding and sustainability. You know how easy it is to replace a quarterback or any athlete for that matter in this day and age? It literally does not take much at all. And Joe Flacco has sustained in a world where one bad game can ultimately define your entire career. And if you don't believe me, go look at Tony Romo. His entire life is defined by a muffed field goal. You don't believe me? Go look at Mark Sanchez, called a butt fumble. His entire career is scathed in that one moment. So I like Joe Flacco, but I don't like how Joe Flacco fits into this modern day and age offense. Look, from the time I was a kid, my favorite quarterback was John Elway. Randall Cunningham was another favorite of mine. Donovan McNabb was another favorite of mine. I've always had a thing for mobile quarterbacks with an arm. You look at Baker Mayfield. You look at Lamar Jackson. You look at Mike Vick. You look at McNabb. You look at Elway. You look at Steve Young. Aaron Rodgers, for the longest time, has been revered by how many people as being better than Tom Brady, despite not having the amount of Super Bowls or even appearances for that matter, because he's more mobile, because of the arm strength, because of the way he's carried the Green Bay Packers, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that's just... But when you look at Joe Flacco and what and who is he being replaced by? Lamar Jackson, mobile quarterback, big arm, up and comer. Period. And I think that it is time for the Denver Broncos, and I've been saying this for years now, to modernize their offense. It is so annoying looking at this offense that still looks like 1997. And I don't know if John Elway's got this whole thing about the way that Denver won with the West Coast style of offense, and that's what he wants. And, you know, they had Peyton Manning, and they ran this kind of slowed down Oregon style of offense, just slower, basically, no huddle. You know, I don't know what it is. They tried this whole thing with Case Keenum. It's not about being boring football. I could care less about running the football because to me, I'm a huge advocate for running the football. I tell people all the time that I think regardless of how you run the option, it is the most unstoppable play in football. I don't care if it's out of a spread formation. I don't care if it's out of wing, pro set. I don't care if it's the wishbone or any variation of any of those. I really don't give a damn. To me, it's the most unstoppable play in football when run correctly, and it puts so much pressure on the defense. So it's not that I'm against running the football. I'm against the fact that Denver refuses to step up their game and say, okay, look, we're going to get a quarterback in here that can come in and be a bigger threat. When you have a quarterback that is like a Baker Mayfield, that is like a Donovan McNabb, a John Elway, a Mike Vick, you know what that does to the defense's coverage schemes? It takes all of their best schemes away because they have to leave at least one guy continuously accounting for the quarterback. You're going to have to spy him at some point. You have to get so creative. You have to drop defensive ends back in the coverage. You have to use defensive ends to spy quarterbacks. You have to and come up with exotic blitz packages that these young guys really haven't seen before. But by the same token, when you do that, you are leaving yourself susceptible in one-on-one situations. It's not that Denver didn't have a good receiving core over the last couple of years. And I'm so tired of hearing about the Denver Broncos offensive line because they were able to run the football. I don't think that they have a quarterback that they really want to play for. That's what I think is going on. For me, the bottom line scenario here is that the Denver Broncos have gotten so stagnant in their way of thinking that they can't figure out a way to move forward. Look, I like the idea of going and finding a veteran quarterback. I don't know that if I like the veteran quarterback, though, to be Joe Flacco. I think his time is winding down, and that's it. If we had a guy that was like a Flacco that had maybe 3 or 4, maybe really good years left, then I would accept that. I would say, okay, we can draft a guy like a Kyler Murray. We could maybe go after a Will Grier. We could start thinking about next year's draft, right, with Sam Ehlinger and Shane Buechele in Texas. We could start doing those things, and I would accept that. But in this case, what are you going to do? And look, I know that Denver went out and got Jim Kelly's cousin, Chad Kelly, and I know that they tried to modernize it, and that kid, made some poor decisions, and so it is what it is. By the same token, though, the lack of interest in drafting a quarterback has become so apparent with the Denver Broncos. So apparent with Denver. I would rather have seen a trade to acquire a better position so that way Denver could go after a quarterback. I would like to have seen that more than I would have liked to have seen giving up a 4th-round draft pick for Joe Flacco. I think what's beginning to take shape in Denver is a lack of 1-2. Now, look, they've got a new head coach, and Vic goes on, and the first thing that he does is he says, look, we may go out and get a veteran guy, 1 or 2 of them, and help, mold some of the younger guys. We may do that, but we need to develop young talent. Okay, great. So in developing young talent, why in the hell are you going after a Joe Flacco? I think we're going to see more of the same with the Denver Broncos offense next season. It's been proven that it doesn't necessarily work for them. I'm one of those guys that I have a hard time placing so much blame on Vance Joseph. And here we go again, right? The offensive coordinator situation could be the same now. Gary Kubiak. When is Denver going to accept some change? Why is John Elway and all these guys going with the same old, same old? If the same old is not working, then why aren't we doing something different? Denver has not had any glimmer of hope in the last 2 seasons. There are more people talking about the Cleveland Browns and Baker Mayfield than there are about the Denver Broncos and what they could potentially do. I mean, wasn't it a couple of years ago or last season that Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers were both available? Can you imagine Drew Brees to Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas? Can you imagine Phillip Rivers throwing to those guys? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something I'm missing. I've been around the game of football for my entire life in one way or the other. And I know that those guys have as well. And I know that they're light years ahead of me. But that doesn't mean, that they're not stagnant in their way of thinking. And maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just something that I've wanted to do. I don't know. Maybe growing up as a Broncos fan, I look at this and, my heart maybe goes somewhere else. But I know one thing that I'm not. And I'm damn sure not a Broncos apologist. And I'm damn sure I'm not going to go out there and say, well, I like Joe Flacco just because I'm a Broncos fan. I can't do that. I didn't like the idea of Keenum. I knew what they were going to do with him. They signed him to a 2-year deal. Basically, he had 1 year, maybe 2, and then they were going to go off and try and play Chad Kelly. Well, that's not going to happen now. So to me, the only thing I see with Joe Flacco is the potential that Denver's going to use him now for a year or 2 and hopefully draft a quarterback and try and make a move on that and let him develop. But here's the thing, though. How is a quarterback in the modern era coming out, unless it's somebody close to like a Will Grier, how are they going to develop under a Joe Flacco type system? Because you're going to have to run a lot of different plays for a lot of these new kids coming out now. And I don't know. I don't see it. I get to a point where I begin to wonder if John Elway, what is your concern? Like, do you want to win now or do you want to win in the future? Because it's one of the things that, Vic talked about when he became the head coach of Denver was we can't be 8-8 now and then, 3-13 in 2021. It's about staying on top. It's about progressing. It's about getting better and then staying there. And how are you going to do that when you get a Peyton Manning and he's gone in 3 years? You get a Joe Flacco and he's gone in 2 years. You get a Case Keenum and he's gone in a year or two. I mean, why in the hell is Denver having so much drama with the most important position in football? Who knows? I mean, it's not like John Elway has anything against winning, right? I mean, he said before, right, when he got Peyton Manning, it was like, yeah, we want to win now, but we want to win later. Okay. Well, how have you shown that you wanted to win after Peyton Manning? Because Denver still has an amazing defense. Still has an amazing defense at their core. Didn't they just re-sign Derek Wolfe? Don't they still have Von Miller? Don't they have Chris Harris Jr. still? I mean, Denver's core defense is still there. So why are we not building this offense the way it should be built? Emmanuel Sanders should not have to come back 10 yards when he's burning guys deep to make an adjustment like that on the football because he doesn't have quarterbacks that can't get it there, like Trevor Siemian, like Case Keenum. Flacco could at least get the ball there, I'll say that. I love his arm strength, but I just don't know if I love the style of offense that we're going to run, especially when we've got a great up-and-comer like Phillip Lindsay, or they have a great up-and-comer like Phillip Lindsay. The threats that they have with the run game right now are so amazing, and they're fairly young running backs still. And Freeman, Lindsay, why would you say, let's go out and get a guy that we can hang on for a year or two? I hope that Denver drafts a quarterback. And drafts a quarterback that is legitimately a quarterback of the future. And not a quarterback of he's just there being the backup. Because there is a huge and significant difference. I am Drew Duncan, host of the Full Court Press. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at DrewDuncan83. Additionally, you can always use the hashtag Don't You Dare Touch That Dial, and I'll get your post noticed. And as always, don't you dare touch that dial.